Hi, this is Rachel Winenberg, the Helpful Art Teacher. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to create simple animations in Photoshop, like GIFs that you can use on the internet or to email to your friends, but also to create animation assets that you can use in Adobe Animate, and then also how to bring your videos, your animated videos, into Final Cut Pro and use the green screen so you can put in any background you want. You're going to start with File, and then you're going to go to Scripts, and you're going to go to Load Files into Stack. Hit Browse, and you're going to find all the images that you created in the previous tutorial, the Puppet Warp tutorial. You click on the top one and you hit Shift. Click on the bottom one and hit with the Shift key held down, and it'll select all of them, and then they're going to load into a sequence automatically in order. If you numbered them the way I suggested in the previous tutorial, they will go in number order. I usually like to start with 01 instead of 1, so that if I have more than 10, it still goes in the right sequence. If you look at the bottom, it says create frame animation. If you don't see the timeline, go to Window at the top and click Timeline. After you create frame animation, there's a little drop-down window in the bottom corner. There it is. And you're going to take make frames from layers, and it'll put all of them into animation frames. When you hit play at the bottom, you can see the animation, and then you can adjust the timing by clicking on the first frame and then hitting Shift, holding the Shift key down, clicking on the last frame. It'll select all of them, and then in the bottom right hand corner of the last frame where it says 0 seconds, there's a little drop down arrow. You can click on that and you can change the timing of the animation, make it slower. If you find that all the images aren't lining up right, so they appear to jump around and you don't have a smooth animation, you can hit the back key and get rid of the animation at the bottom, so you just have the stack. And then you can go through the layers, hiding different layers by clicking on the eye next to the layer and then hitting Edit, Transform, and then rotate, or even just using the move key to the move tool to move them around so that they're all lined up perfectly with one another. Although if you created this stack of images using Puppet Warp, they're probably pretty close to lined up right now. So regardless, after you set the timing, you can and reposition the figures and got everything exactly the way you want, you can actually export the file as a GIF, graphic interchange format, that you can post on social media, that you can embed in websites, and that you can email to your friends, just like all the GIFs that you see on Facebook and Instagram and stuff that people share. So, and just it's even fun if you're emailing, and instead of a still image, having a moving image that you created yourself. Once you have all the figures repositioned and you've got the animation going exactly the way you want, there's two things that we're going to do. One is we're going to save it as a GIF, and the second is we're going to save it as a layered PSD, a Photoshop file, and then when we open up Adobe Animate, I'll show you how you can convert all these layers into keyframes for an animated film. So it's actually, if you line them up ahead of time and you create the images in Photoshop ahead of time, getting into Adobe Animate becomes a lot easier because you have the assets already in the format that you need. Now, so now I'm going to export it. Now I'm accidentally hitting render video here because I couldn't remember what to do, but that's not what you do. You go export, save for web is the one you want. So you're going to save it as a GIF, and image plus HTML is the option you're going to pick. If you just pick image, you'll just get one single still image. You don't want that. You want GIF plus HTML. and so you actually just save it to the drive in your computer. But when you open it, instead of opening it the way you'd normally open an image, open it with an internet browser. Here I'm picking Internet Explorer, and that's how it will look if you email it to people. And I could have made the movement a lot slower, but now I'm saving it as a PSD. With all the images, all the layers have to be visible. So I'm saving it as a Photoshop file, and now I'm going to close out Photoshop and I'm opening Adobe Animate. So I'm doing File, New, and I'm picking an HTML5 animation. I'm going to now load just the one layered Photoshop file into Adobe Animate. I'm loading it into the library, and I'm converting the layers into keyframes. So it's import, I'm finding the file, let me find the correct file. There it is. I called it Mermaid Stack. And now I'm going to bring it into the library of my, and I'm converting the layers to keyframes. And hitting import. And that will bring the entire stack into my library. There it is. You can see, and they're named layer 1, layer 2, up to layer 7. And the good news about that is that now I know what order they go in. What I'm doing is I'm inserting blank keyframes into my animation before I add in the individual frames. So I inserted a blank keyframe, and I want to see the previous frame. So what I did was, at the bottom, I clicked something called onion skinning. It's just, it looks like two papers on top of each other. It almost turns each keyframe into tracing paper, so you can see the image underneath, and you can reposition it to make it right. Now notice I'm not making the mermaid swim across the paper. I'm having the mermaid just wiggle in place, and the reason why is because I'm going to be green screening her on top of a water background, and the water background is going to be moving. So she's going to appear to move even though it's really the background moving. A little trick animators use. Now you see those blue images? Those won't be visible in the final animation. The reason why I have them there is it's the onion skinning, so I can see what the movement's like. You can see it's much too fast. So what I'm going to do is I need to change the timing. I'm going to make it fewer frames per second. Where it says FPS on the side, that's frames per second. So I'm actually changing it to make it go a lot slower. So I actually changed it to 6 frames per second, and you can see your movement is a lot smoother. So now it's time to export it. Oh, no, before I export it, I need to bring in the green screen. Forgot about that. So what I'm doing is I have a Photoshop file saved that's just a green background. You can find one on the internet, a green screen color. So I'm going to import it. And now the whole thing turns green, but that's just because it's on the layer above the mermaid. So I'm pulling it down to the layer below the mermaid. And now I have this green background, which I can get rid of later when I edit. So now I'm exporting it. Now, exporting it isn't enough. After you export the video, you're going to have to use the media encoder. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. It's automatically, here's the media encoder. It automatically pops up when you're done. And you have to click auto encode folders. So you go to the green arrow at the top right hand corner, you click on that, and it's going to convert it to a usable video that you can upload to YouTube or bring into an editing program, which is what I'm going to do. So now I'm in Final Cut Pro, and I just pulled down a video of some underwater video that I took at the Monterey Aquarium, and now I'm taking my mermaid and I'm putting her in the layer on top of the underwater video. And now I went to the effects menu, and I'm pulling over the keyer filter, and that I put the keyer filter right on top of my mermaid video, and the green completely disappears. So now I have the mermaid swimming with the water in the background. And here you could see I did the same thing with my changing face. I have the face sitting on a boat, going on a boat ride and about to get hit with the bridge. Ah!